Welcome into Candlestick Chronicles, a 49ers podcast on the Blue Wire Podcast Network. I'm Kyle Madson. I write about the 49ers over at NinersWire.com, part of the USA Today Sports Media Group. Chris Biderman with me, as always. And we're going to talk about the 49ers safeties today as we continue our 49ers training camp preview. But before we do that, let's talk about the official uniform of Candlestick Chronicles, the official clothing brand of Candlestick Chronicles. That's right. We're a big deal. We have a clothing brand. Chris, what is it?
We're a big
deal. We have a clothing brand. Chris, which one is it? I don't know.
I am head to toe in lamb chops. If you are watching on our YouTube channel, you can see I'm wearing. Might be the first item of clothing.
It's an OG
Chops ever sent me.
Yeah.
An OG shirt, as one might call it. Just head to toe today. Sweat shorts. Got all of my mesh shorts in the laundry on this 107-degree day in Sacramento. You can bet if once I leave the house, those mesh shorts will be coming on. But around the house, in the air conditioning, the sweat shorts, incredible. T-shirts, incredible. We love the quality. We love the look. We love the feel. We love it all at Lamb Chops. So shout out to them. sglambchops.com. Promo code Candlestick20. Get 20% off your first purchase. You know what it is. Get plugged in, man.
Get in for that summer drop that just came out. It's such a sick concept. All of it looks great, as does all of Lamb Chop's clothing, but in particular, love this summer drop. So make sure you go check that out. sglambchops.com. Let's talk about the 49ers safeties, which we started doing yesterday, kind of as a joke, but then we decided it should be a real topic. So here we are. All right. Safeties for the 49ers. Honestly, we're going to do a hot 20 today. Legit. We always say we're going to keep this one tight. Today we are, for sure. And I think it's because right now, as currently constructed, I don't think there's a lot of question about what four players are going to, I assume they're going to keep four, what four players are going to be the safeties. I think it's just a matter of, are those going to be the same four players by the end of camp that we look at and say those are the four guys who are going to play at that position for the 49ers on their 53-man roster.
Yeah, and I think it's fair to say, like the biggest question is what's the status of Talanoa Hufanga?
That's it.
Towards ACL in November. That's right about the time where, like John Lynch has said, they expect him to be back at the start of training camp. What does that mean? Does that mean he's, at the start of training camp, he's doing, rehab work? Does it mean he's fully cleared and doing everything? Does it mean he's cleared for individual drills and it's a couple weeks before he's cleared for team drills? There's a lot of shades of gray when it comes to a guy being cleared and ready for training camp, right? Yep. So we will have a better idea when the team reports, when veterans report a couple weeks from now. But for now, I think it's fair to ask the question, will Talanoa Hufanga be ready? And we can look at the rest of the depth chart. But to me, that's the biggest thing going forward. And there are other questions that we can sort of spin forward off of that, which we will over these next 16 minutes and 20 seconds, since we're keeping this a hot 20. But I think it starts evaluating the position right now for me starts with the status of Talanoa Hufanga being up in the air.
Yeah, I think that's one of a handful of question marks, right? If we're charting out a depth chart right now, I think it's Talanoa Hufanga at strong safety and ayirbrown at free safety, right? But yeah, it's Hufanga's knee. A, is he healthy enough to play? And B, if he's healthy enough to be on the field, what does it look like? And is he still functionally athletic enough to play the safety position the way he did, where he's flying all over the field and making all sorts of plays? I think that's a pretty sizable question mark. And then ayirbrown, I think acquitted himself pretty well as a rookie last year as a third-round pick, but he only played in 5 games and then got benched for their first playoff game. I think that kind of an under-the-radar aspect of his ascension. And granted, he started the NFC title game and he started in the Super Bowl and had an interception in the Super Bowl, and that's great. But I think that's a question mark of how he's going to hold up as a 17-game starter. And then you have a rookie in Malik Mustafa who, again, Every rookie has at least a little bit of a question mark over them. And so the Niners made it pretty clear during the offseason that they weren't going to sign a starter. They told starting caliber safeties that came in, like, yeah, hey, there's not really a starting position open. But I do wonder, as camp plays out and as we get either closer to or we see a Talanoa Hufanga return, or we see Malik Mustafa and Jair Brown playing in their respective roles, if that does change for them.
Yeah. And I think both of the questions about Talanoa Hufanga and the questions about Jair Brown could be answered by the 49ers decision or lack of decision to make a play for one of these free agent safeties, because there are a lot of pretty experienced, I think pretty good safeties available. And you can look at, Justin Simmons being available. He's not even 31 yet. He's been one of the better safeties in the league for some time. You have Quandre Diggs, who's played for the Seattle Seahawks in a similar scheme, and would be a pretty natural fit if you weren't super confident that you would have Hufanga, or you weren't super confident that Jair Brown would nail down one of these starting roles. You have Micah Hyde, who's going to be 34 reasonably soon, but has been good for a long time in the league, most recently playing with the Buffalo Bills. Like, there are a lot of guys. Jaron Kearse, Kareem Jackson, man, he's 36, probably not going to happen. But
yeah, he's been around.
He's been around. But I mean, and there's, Tayshaun Gibson, who's still on the free agent market. I think his stock obviously took a pretty sizable hit when he was suspended for 6 games of the season for a PED program violation. So that to me seems unlikely, right? I know there is a lot of trust there, but I think it kind of felt like for a while he might have been punching above his weight with the Niners, and it will always be surprising to me that he was given preference over Jimmy Ward for that time that he was before Jimmy Ward bolted in free agency last offseason. But anyway, all that being said, like, it wouldn't surprise. Like, what would your level of surprise be for? That's not a good way to say it, but how surprised would you be if the Niners went and got a veteran safety before training camp, or at least early on in training camp?
I would be 74% surprised.
So you'd be pretty surprised then.
Yeah, just because they had an opportunity to sign a starting safety this offseason and didn't. So it would take I think an injury or a setback for Talanoa Hufanga, or one of Jair Brown or Malik Mustafa just being a total train wreck for the first couple weeks of camp, and I don't foresee that happening. So yeah, I'd be pretty surprised if they did add a starter, but I think there are enough scenarios on the table where they do feel the need to go do that. And you just listed a ton of players who have been good in the league for a long time, who I think could ultimately help the 49ers. I do want to say that if this was a normal pod where we weren't trying to do a hot 20, I would relitigate the Jimmy Ward, Tayshaun Gibson thing right now. I want to so bad. I'm not going to, but I want to.
Which side would you be on?
Dude, you already know I'm on Jimmy Ward Island. Come on.
Okay. Yeah. We've been card carrying members of the. I think we probably run the Jimmy Ward Island HOA at this point.
Oh, we absolutely 2018 offseason. You and I were there, bro. Come on.
Yeah. Golf course is built. I think I got a place with a built-in barbecue overlooking the ocean, some beachside property on Jimmy Ward Island.
Totally.
Yeah.
I think all of this ties into my biggest question, though, and is Malik Mustafa going to play? The Niners drafted him in the 4th round. He looks NFL ready. He is, as the draftniks say, rocked up. He has an NFL body. You watch him on tape. He's flying downhill. He's a really good tackler. He's super physical, and you can just see where he will carve out a role in the NFL. I think there are questions about his ability to play deep and how much versatility he's going to have. But we talked about it with the linebackers in our last episode. Go check that out if you haven't. There may wind up being a need for the 49ers to have to shuffle some things around where they're running de facto, 3 safety sets with one of those safeties going down and playing linebacker. So I'm interested to see in camp, is Malik Mustafa just, he's the running with the twos and that's what it is, or is he getting some first team reps? And if he is, where are those reps coming and at what position?
He kind of feels like a carbon copy almost of Talanoa Hufanga in terms of like the things we say about him coming into the league, right? Like he feels like, Talanoa Hufanga was like, well, we're not sure if he's a safety or a linebacker, but we know he's going to be awesome on special teams at least to start. Yeah. And then he ended up, I think, surpassing expectations and being a really, really good playmaking, strong safety. And I think it's fair to say that, Talanoa Hufanga probably took too many chances, right? And there were, he had what the football coaches would call bad eyes a lot of times in deep coverage. And I think there are similar questions, as you pointed out, to Mustafa. Like he's going to be a guy who's probably really good around the line of scrimmage, who's probably going to be really good on special teams initially, but is he going to be somebody that you trust in coverage? And is he going to be somebody that can play, most safeties in the NFL now are interchangeable. And, even box safeties do have to play deep a lot. Talanoa Hufanga has to play single high deep quite a bit. And that's not the strength of his game. And I think it's fair to say that's probably not the strength of Malik Mustafa's game too. So how quickly can he adjust? To your point, is he going to be a special teams guy only this season? Is he going to be needed because of Talanoa Hufanga's injury status? It'll be interesting to see, but I think the 49ers are certainly high on him. I think it sounds like reporters are pretty high on him. Watching some interviews and videos and stuff, he seems like a guy who, mature, like made of the right stuff for whatever that's worth. Right. But he is my breakout candidate for all these reasons. Like I do think he's going to be in a position where you're like, oh, like Malik Mustafa's playing and like making a bunch of tackles and around the ball and helping out on special teams. Like to me, he seems like he could be one of these guys with the potential to. We talk about the 49ers developing a future core, a new core of players who might outlast sort of this this current veteran group that they have. I think Mustafa might have that potential. I know that's saying a lot given he hasn't played a snap yet, but I think he's a breakout candidate, but and maybe he's just a mid-round pick that flames out. We'll see, but I'm optimistic.
He could either be a mid-round pick who flames out or a breakout candidate. No, I think you're right. It wouldn't shock me. It wouldn't shock me at all. Candlestick Chronicles, we don't know. No, it wouldn't shock me at all. Just to your point, if the talking point about Malik Mustafa as camp goes on is they got to get this guy on the field. He's one of their 11 best defenders. They have to figure out a way to get him on the field. That wouldn't shock me at all. I've got Jair Brown as my breakout candidate. Like I said, he played 5 regular season games last year, 35 tackles, 4 pass breakups. He had a couple interceptions. He intercepted Patrick Mahomes in the Super Bowl. I believe when I was under the belief that when they drafted him, he could play a Jimmy Ward type of role where he's just a little bit of I don't think he's going to be as good in man coverage as Jimmy Ward was, but I think he's going to be able to play a little bit of every spot. And I think you saw in college, his big calling card was that ability to generate turnovers, and you saw it right away. He had a 7-game sample as a pro. He had 3 interceptions in those 7 games, and I think that's going to keep up. So it wouldn't shock me at all, actually, if the Niners defense is really good again, and Jair Brown has like 6 or 7 interceptions and just makes a Pro Bowl.
Yeah, he definitely could be. He definitely could be that guy. Like I didn't see anything his rookie season that makes me think there's no chance of that happening.
Yeah.
Some rookies you're like, nah, it's not going to happen for this dude.
1,000%.
But some rookies you're like, all right, he can play a little bit as a rookie. That makes me think he could potentially be a really good pro.
There was one play he made. This is the one play that sticks out that was like really bad. It was his first game. It was when Hufanga got hurt in Week 11 against the Bucs, and Brown comes in. And there's a receiver running up the seam like directly at him, and Brown takes like 2 steps forward, plants his feet, and the receiver just blows by him. And I can't remember if it was a touchdown or just a really long gain, but it was a very clear, oh, that's a rookie who just didn't have 100% of an idea of what he needed to be doing in that spot. But it was that was funny, and he was good after that. So shout out to Jair Brown.
I'm in. I'm
Position
generally
battle?
glass half full type guy, but I think I am with their young players at safety.
Me too. Position battles?
I mean, I guess it's got to be George Odom versus Malik Mustafa, right?
Sure.
Does it feel like there's crossover there? Do they play the same position? Or are they competing? Like,
I don't think
Odom
the 49ers
is a
want George
special
Odom
teams
to
guy.
be on the field.
Yeah. I mean, he's a special teams guy that they like a lot.
Mm-hmm.
It seems like Odom and Mustafa are going to be the backup sort of regardless.
Yeah.
But is there an opportunity for Mustafa? Like, do they look at it like no matter which of Brown and Hufanga, if one of those guys gets hurt, is it automatically Odom because he's a veteran and could potentially be apt to play both spots? Or is Mustafa, if it's Hufanga who gets hurt, is it Mustafa who comes in? Or is Mustafa good enough at free safety to where they're like, yeah, even if Jair Brown is playing free safety and he gets hurt, we'll throw Mustafa in there because we just like him more than Odom.
Yeah,
that's kind of the battle, right?
Yeah, that's it. Because Odom's been a starting safety in the league. That's just kind of not his bag. He's definitely a special teams guy. That's interesting though, because I'm of the mind that I think right now the 49ers coaching staff would tell you, like, yeah, Malik Mustafa is going to be the third safety, and that's just what it's going to be. And if George Odom has to play, then we're in trouble. But at the same time, I said this earlier, if Mustafa goes out and it's just a train wreck, just bad eyes, missing tackles, biting on pump fakes, he's doing all the wrong stuff, I could see the Niners coaching staff wanting the veteran who, okay, he may not be as physically talented, but he's just going to be in the right spots. I could 100% see that.
Any Eric Harris, Taylor Hawkins, Jalen Mahoney takes for you?
Not in 3 minutes. I do. Okay, here. Okay. Bit aside of me being fascinated by things that a lot of people don't care about. Taylor Hawkins was kind of a buzzy name as an undrafted rookie 2 years ago, and then same deal last year. So I do wonder if he comes out in camp or preseason and tears it up again, is he a player that sneaks into a roster spot? Or is he a player that they're trading for a late round pick because they don't have a roster spot for him? I do think of those, kind of fringe roster bubble practice squad guys, he's the one that could legitimately actually, I think, make some noise.
Okay.
I'm gonna have with Malik Mustafa and the position battle thing. I do wonder if there's going to be a little bit of a position battle between him and Jair Brown. If the Niners look at Jair Brown as, okay, yeah, the starter for now, but drafted this guy in the 4th round who we really like, and we like what he brings in his physicality. He's going to get some reps with the ones as well. I'm interested to see if that's a thing that happens.
It's fair. It does feel like they're not super interested in paying Talanoa Hufanga. Given the safety market, given maybe some of his shortcomings, given how much he might command with an all-pro on his resume.
Yeah, dude.
It doesn't seem like they're in a spot to pay him.
Yeah, we could do a whole podcast, I think, on this, but it's that positional value, right? It's who all can they pay? And they've drafted 2 safeties, one in the 3rd round, one in the 4th round in consecutive years. And it just feels like the writing's kind of on the wall. Like Talanoa Hufanga, it's not that he's a bad player. He's just going to get priced out of what they can afford. Same thing with Mike McGlinchey. Mike McGlinchey doesn't suck. He just got paid way more than they were able to pay him. Laken Tomlinson, same deal. Like, it just kind of happens. And I think safety would be a spot that they would be willing to let a player walk. What grade do you give this group?
For now, it's a B. I think it's fine. I don't think it's bad. I don't think it's great. Yeah. I like the youth that they have there. And maybe you bump up that grade if they get a Justin Simmons or a Quandre Diggs.
Sure. Yeah, no doubt. I might go B- just because it is a Jair Brown is still a little bit of a question mark. But it was good enough last year. I think that you feel pretty good about it. Talanoa Hufanga's injury stuff, obviously a pretty big wrench in this. But again, you named all the options they would have if they need to add a veteran safety. So I don't think it's the end of the world. Yeah, I'm gonna B minus. Pretty good group. Some question marks. Chance to be really good though. If you get all pro caliber Talanoa Hufanga back and Jair Brown takes a leap, it could be a really, really good safety room.
Yeah, and if the optimism we have around Malik Mustafa ends up being warranted, and it was a guy who ends up having a Talanoa Hufanga like career, then it's like, man, maybe you got to get this guy in the field as an extra linebacker, dime safety, whatever.
Yep.
And that dude's probably going to be really good on special teams. So we'll see.
I heard Malik means king in Arabic.
It's actually, I've heard that a lot too. It's Malik Mustafa. Now that I'm reminded, I was watching an interview and he said Malik Mustafa, and then I went back and watched highlights. It was Malik Mustafa.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
There's so much Malik Monk in our lives, being here in Sacramento.
Correct.
And talking about and writing about the Sacramento Kings as much as we do, that there's not a lot of Maliks, but I believe it's
sorry to Malik. Salute. That's our bad. Won't happen again. Malik means king in Arabic, I've heard.
Yes, it does.
All right. That's it for us. We're going to get out of here. We'll have another couple position breakdowns next week as training camp is right around the corner. Cannot wait. Hopefully we have a training camp schedule so you and I can figure out what dates we're going to get out there. The Candy Cron boys go to Santa Clara and hit up a training camp practice or two and maybe some golf in between.
Yeah, and speaking of golf, maybe I'll catch up with Kyle Juszczyk at the American Century Championship this week up in Lake Tahoe.
Need his thoughts on Malik Mustafa.
Represented. Yeah, get his thoughts.
Yeah,
somebody's going to have to block in pass pro.
Yeah, it's a great point.
Those pass pro drills. So
you need to get his level of fascination with the 5th and 6th linebacker spots, please.
Okay.
All right. That's Chris. I don't know why I started doing a radio thing there. Subscribe, rate, review, wherever you get your podcasts. Also subscribe to our YouTube channel. Once the season gets rolling, we'll start going live more often there, but check out all our videos at youtube.com/@Candlestick Chronicles Podcast. And, or you can just search Candlestick Chronicles on YouTube and you will find us. So subscribe there, notification bells, like buttons, please. We would appreciate it. And we will talk to you guys next time.
Hey, Juice, who's got the most shock in their hands?